first I have to warn you, I've known that lady who's judging for about 30 years, and then it's the table where I'm eating tonight, so this may be somewhat unfair. And I didn't come here tonight to tell a story, but the coach inspired me, the coach who both coached and taught my son at Henderson, telling his pot story. The difference about this story is, and unlike Bill Clinton, I did inhale. So, and therefore that's where the panic comes in. In 1980, a lot of you were around when the Phillies finally won a World Series. And we had had the Flyers a few years before that, but when the Phillies won, especially after I was around for 1964, I had World Series tickets with my grandfather, and we know how that turned out. So now, it's 1980, I'm in law school, second year, 24 years old. I was at the game with my cousin. I had an uncle that worked with the Phillies. He gave us a press pass, and we snuck 10 people in, and if anybody, I know somebody was at the parade the next day, but if anybody was at that game, it was probably about 80,000 people in the stadium that sat 65,000. It was fun. The Phillies won the sixth game of the World Series. Pre-cell phone era, which was part of the story, we roll out of the stadium. My brother was with my dad in another area watching the game. He ended up with me and my cousin. We're out on Broad Street. The party's outside the vet. After about an hour, what do we do now? Well, the natural thing was to roll down Broad Street and go to City Hall. We end up at City Hall, and it was not as crazy as the Eagles a couple months ago, but my memory of it, 8 years ago, is it was still pretty crazy. A couple thousand people under City Hall, and we're on the south side of City Hall. And so I got Justin, Mike, and myself. Sure, we had beers. And up walks a buddy I knew from University of Scranton, where I went to college, and he was in my law school. And maybe this explains a little bit of it. His name was Mooch. So Mooch walks up and introduces him to my brother and cousin, and he says, "I got some pot, you want to smoke?" Now, nobody can repeat the story once you leave this room, please. He's a very well-respected attorney in town, but we're all young ones. So, of course, with Mooch and Justin and Mike, we smoke. And there's about 5,000 people there. All of a sudden, I noticed 2 police and on horses coming towards us down Broad Street. I don't know who had the pot. I don't know who had the pipe. All I know is they're coming straight at us. And Mooch, Justin, Mike are here. The horse comes right here and splits me. And I had the impression that the officer was after me, so I did the right thing. I started running immediately. To, remember Wanamaker's? I don't know the name of the area around City Hall, but I am now running at full sprint towards Wanamaker's. Now, the complicating factor, or the fun factor, is I wasn't the only one running. There were 3 little kids who, where they were from in Philly, about half my size, running with me. So it's now the 4 of us running towards Wanamaker's. Somebody told me it's Juniper Street that runs along Wanamaker's. We hit that street, we make a right. So now here's the scene. 3 little kids and this 24-year-old student, law student by the way, running down the road and making a right down Juniper. And all I can remember, my impression was, click-a-clop, tick-a-clop, tick-a-clop. The horse chasing after. I think there was only the 1 horse. So now we have to go about 150 yards down to, and people can correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was Chestnut Street is the next street south of City Hall. Chestnut, Walnut. I had to run about 150 yards, and I was a lot younger and slimmer, and I could run. And I'm keeping up with these 3 little kids because my law degree's up in the air. I got to put up with my mom and dad, whatever. So now, here I am. We hit Juniper Street, or Chestnut Street. The 3 little kids made a left. I said, here's my chance. I go right. I go about 10 yards down the road, and there's a lot of people milling around. So I run, grab my Phillies hat, shove it in my coat, and walk back. And then I see the horse running down the road after the 3 little kids. And I'm like, oh my God, they weren't after me at all. Or I fooled them, one or the other. I'm thinking I fooled them, and Now I had to find my brother, and cousin Mooch went on with his pot somewhere. And so we come back up to City Hall, and there's Justin and Mike, and he said, what were you doing? And I said, didn't you see the cop was after us because we were smoking the pot? He said, no, you idiot. One of the three little kids went up and whacked the horse in the rear, and that's why the cop started chasing out. So for all that time, here I was running. That's my panic story. Thank you very much.